This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Well, good evening, one and all. This is the X-Zone, and I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network and the X-Zone Broadcast Network from our broadcast facilities in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com. Before I get to our first guest, just a reminder that on September the 30th, it's a Wednesday, 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern, a debate like none that there has ever been. Like even Donald Trump doesn't measure up to this debate. I know that's hard for you to accept, but it is true, Exonation. We have Stanton Friedman debating Michael Horn. The subject of the debate, the Billy Meyer case. Once again, that is Wednesday, September 30th, 2015, from 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern, right here in the X-Zone, exclusively on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and Star Cable Radio Network. My guest this hour is a lady I've had the pleasure of knowing for, quite a long time. CHRISSIE Blaze is her name. She is an international speaker, metaphysician, and author of 11 published books. She is a regular media guest and has conducted lectures and workshops at conferences and expos in the United States, the United Kingdom, on subjects from astrology to spiritual healing and UFOs. She and her husband, Gary, were regular keynote speakers on direct intention and prayer at Lynn McTaggart's Living the Field conferences in London for several years, alongside frontier scientists in quantum physics, where they spoke to over 2,000 people. Joining me now is the one and only CHRISSIE Blaze. And CHRISSIE, it is so nice to talk to you again. How are you, dear friend?
Not too bad, thank you so much, Rob. It's lovely to be on your show again. It's a long time, as you say, and it's my great pleasure. And how are you doing?
You know, I can't complain. I really can't complain.
Oh.
I've got the best job in the world because I talk to the most interesting people in the world 5 nights a week, 4 hours a night. I've been doing this for 24 years, over 3,900 interviews of different people.
Wow.
And I get to call people like you that I've had the pleasure of knowing for so many years a friend. So how can it get any better?
Yeah, I mean, a fantastic job, and you do a fantastic job because you really are interested. That's the great thing.
Yes, I am.
What makes you so great.
Well, thank you very much. You've got me blushing over here, CHRISSIE.
Well,
CHRISSIE.
that's a good start.
Yes, ma'am. CHRISSIE, we're going to be talking about something very interesting, and you and I have talked about this before, Dr. George King and his extraterrestrial contacts, and it's all about the Aetherius Society.
Yes. This time I'm going to talk about the Aetherius Society, which is my main love in life, I suppose you would say, and something I've been very dedicated to for most of my life. And, you know, that's a long time.
Tell me, CHRISSIE, did you actually know Dr. King?
I did. I was very fortunate to be a close student of his in England, and then I moved to Los Angeles when he was he couldn't travel to England anymore. So it was a span of like 25 years. I worked very, very closely with him. And he was an extraordinary man, a wonderful man, and an extraordinary master too, yoga master, spiritual master. And he did some extraordinary things. But I first heard about him when I was actually a child, because my aunt and my great-aunt were both involved with Theosophy, and then later on the Aetherius Society when it was founded in 1955 in England, which was founded by Dr. George King. And they felt it was kind of, this is what they said, that it was another step from the Theosophical Society. So they were very enthralled with the teachings and enthralled with the whole thing. And I was on this kind of path searching, and had, even at the age of 14, I'd sort of gone into many different thought, spiritual thought and philosophies and so on, which carried on. I'm still, searching in some ways, although I found what I believe is true, but still I'm always very, like you, very interested in anything that's interesting and anything that, try not to be closed-minded to anything.
You know what? I feel very sorry for people.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is, Chrissy, and that is just it. I feel very bad for people who think that, they have nothing left to learn. Life is a learning experience. From the moment you were conceived to the time you pass on to the next realm, you're learning all the time.
Absolutely, and sometimes, Robin, you'll be able to relate to this. When you go through those really tough times, that's when you learn the most, isn't it?
That's right.
I mean, it's kind of like you have these reorientation of your thought patterns, and you realize that, life is, we only have so much time on this planet, in this life anyway, if you believe in reincarnation, and it's so precious, and every day we can be learning something, and I don't just mean from books, but from experience, from other people, and
exactly.
It's a fascinating journey, actually, isn't it?
It truly is, Chrissy, and as I have found over the years, and I am very happy to share this tidbit of knowledge that I learned the hard way, you cannot succeed without failing. Failing is another word for lesson.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And, we learn from our failures. It's absolutely true, what we should do, and not sort of slink away and think, oh, I failed, because just pick up. I love this Zen saying that you fall down, fall down 7 times, pick yourself up 8.
That's right. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Chrissy, when it comes to Dr. King, I understand that he had a contact, and this is all very pivotal when it comes to the Aetherius Society.
Yes, he did. He was one of those early people that was contacted in actually 1955, and he was actually, before that time, he'd been training for many years. Let me just go back a little.
Okay.
He was born in 1919. When the war came, World War II, he was a conscientious objector, but he was a very brave man, and he served in the fire service in London's Blitz. So he put himself in danger every day. But he just didn't want to, his beliefs were, he was a pacifist, and so he didn't go to war, but he did that instead. And then after that, he got really immersed in yoga, all the yogas, and he would practice not just the physical yogas, but the mental yogas, and became a sort of master of all of them, was able to gain states of enlightenment. And he was also very interested in mediumship and was a very good medium. And all of these things together, his courage and his extraordinary dedication, because he was doing up to 10 hours of yoga practice, and that included meditation and other spiritual practices for 10 hours a day, and he had a job as well, So he was very, very dedicated over 10 years until he gained a high state of enlightenment. And he was living in a London flat in Maida Vale, and he was just washing the dishes one day, and he was contacted by a voice outside of himself. And I have to say, because he'd done a lot of practices, yoga practices, and stilling the mind and controlling the mind,
right,
he was able to differentiate between a voice in the head and a voice outside of himself. But it was still a great shock to him because the voice said very distinctly, prepare yourself, you are to become the voice of interplanetary parliament. And that was it. And he dropped the dishes, and they broke. And at that point, he didn't really know what to do, but decided to lock himself in a room until he found the answers. And that was that was him. And it was several days later that a master from India, who was quite well known in that part of the world, came and walked through his locked door and proceeded to explain and initiate him into various things. And that was the beginning of his mission.
You said that...
Quite extraordinary then, very extraordinary then, and still very extraordinary.
So you're saying that this Indian walked through the locked door?
Yes, because, a yogi can dematerialize and rematerialize. It's not, it's not something impossible to do. And in fact, I don't want to divert too much, but there was this fantastic UFO sighting in Veranosh in Russia. You probably know about it, Rob, some years ago in the 80s, where this is what an extraterrestrial came down in the craft. It was reported by TASS, and I got it at the time. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And he dematerialized a boy and rematerialized him. So it's something that can be done and is done when necessary. And I'm not sure that the Indian yogi had to do it, had to actually dematerialize and rematerialize, but he walked through the locked door, because after all, nothing is really solid, if you believe the quantum physicists.
Yep.
And he went on to explain and to, as I say, initiate him. And that was the beginning of his receiving over 600 contacts, or we call them transmissions, in the Aetherius Society over many years. And this forms the basis of our teachings and a set of teachings really for this coming age. I'm not saying, certainly never say and wouldn't say these are the only ones at all, but because, in fact, one of the teachings of the society is if you're a Christian, be a good one. If you're a Buddhist, be a good one. If you're a Hindu, be a good one. We're very ecumenical, if you like.
I like that.
Yes. Because after all the problems on this planet, well, most of them are formed by people thinking you should have the same belief system as they do,
I got into quite an argument. I don't argue very often with my guests, but this gentleman came on and he said, well, all the religions in the world should band together and force the changing of the words of the Quran. And you know what? No one has that right. No one. And he couldn't understand my reasoning. It's very simple.
Has he read the Quran?
Well, he's a self-proclaimed expert.
Oh, what even so? That's ridiculous.
It is.
That reminds me of... Actually, I'm just reading a historical novel, and just after Henry VIII's time, when people were being burned as heretics because they didn't espouse, by actually Queen Mary at the time, his daughter, because they didn't espouse Catholicism. They were Protestants, or Christians, but they were being burned at the stake because they didn't have that same belief. I mean... Let
me ask you something, Chrissy.
Ridiculous.
Pardon? Let me ask you something. Is it possible that here in the year 2015 that we actually don't need the established religious philosophies, that we've outgrown them, and that, let's face it, most of the trouble in the world today is caused by religions?
Yes, but it's such an innate desire, I think, within everybody, actually, because we all have within us this spark of God, if you like, or whatever you want to refer to it as. And they say, don't they, Rob, that a drowning person might have said all their life they're an atheist or an agnostic, but the minute of the great trial, they'll pray to God because it's so innate, isn't it, in us all?
That's true.
And I think in some ways, the Orthodox religions are having a hard time keeping people because people feel that they don't need them, and yet I believe that when crunch time comes, probably they'll flock like they did in 2001.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. but it's a I think, people are all attracted to different things, obviously, and different religions, and this is how it should be.
Yes, that's true. Like, I believe in respecting everyone's religion, everyone's philosophy. Learn as much as you can about the people, their traditions, their culture, and that way their learning and self-education is the greatest asset when trying to be a better person, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and learning respect for other people's beliefs, even if you don't agree with them.
That's right.
You don't have to agree with them.
Yep.
But respect it, because quite often people have grown up in that belief system, and they're very happy with it, and they do a lot for other people.
Sure.
And, all religions have this, I believe, has this very positive sort of foundation of service and love.
Yep.
And if you really, look closely at them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I believe that what the world needs now is a lot more love and understanding and respect when it comes to not only the other philosophies, but everyone, the people, because it's the people that are the very core of this existence.
Absolutely.
Chrissy,
a lot more love and a lot more respect.
Exactly.
I think, this is, John Lennon was right. All the world needs is love.
Yep.
Dr. King said it in another way, the biggest energy crisis, because he referred to love as an energy, because at its higher levels it's kind of detached. If you think, for example, you're going to have an operation and the surgeon, has a love for his work and hopefully a love for you, but in a very detached way, and yet he can do his absolutely best for you and save your life and
That's
so on.
right.
And that is sort of love in action. And this has different levels. There's the more emotional type of love, the family love, and then there's other sort of compassion for the world. But he said the biggest problem that we're going to be facing, and this was some time ago, is the lack of love or spiritual energy, if you liked. And this is why he spent a lot of time training people in prayer, in set up these global healing missions, in healing as well, taught healing, ways to get more love, if you like, or spiritual energy into the world. Because he said it's something we've never really tried. We've tried politics, we've tried, everything else, but we've never tried love, have we?
No, we haven't, and it seems to be a very simple solution. Mind you,
it is. It's hard to do, though, isn't it?
It sure is.
Not easy.
Chrissy, what were some of the the transmissions that Dr. King received?
He received over 600, and at the time, in the 50s, they were very much around the subject of nuclear experimentation and so on, and they were urging people to act, and this was the time of the sort of ban the bomb movement,
right? Yeah,
and so on. And they were also right in the beginning. They did a lot of forecasts, so to sort of prove the validity of the contacts, that they were going to be at a certain place at a certain time, a certain date, and then these were recorded in the press, and these, because they were seen at these particular times, to sort of prove their validity. And then after that, there was a lot of interest, as I say, in nuclear experimentation, how we're not ready for it on this planet, we need to stay away from it, we don't know what we're dealing with. And in fact, as you know, Rob, there's been many sightings around nuclear accidents and power plants and so on of UFOs, which I believe helping to clear up the mess we made and things like that. So it's kind of scientific revelations and also, but spiritual ones too. And one of my favorite, well, there's two series of transmissions which are my favorites. One was the 9 Freedoms, which was given as 9 particular transmissions in 1961, and the other was the 12 Blessings, which was a series of 12 transmissions given every Sunday of over, I think, July to October in 1958. And this series was given, we believe, by the Avatar Jesus, the Master Jesus, as an extension, we are told, to his Sermon on the Mount. And this, too, may be shocking to some people, but you see, I've always believed that Jesus really is with us, and he inspires people around the world and communicates, I think, in different ways. And this is one way, and he was these teachings are wonderful. 12 Blessings are now in book form. We have a website, 12blessings.org, where we run services. And basically, they're not only very profound teachings like meditations, each one, on different aspects of creation, but they are a spiritual practice designed for us to radiate love, basically. And when you hear the transmissions, often people, if we play them during our services, new people say, even though they don't know who it is speaking through Dr. King, because he's the medium,
right?
They always recognize the voice, and they say, that's the Master Jesus, because there's so much love in the voice.
Oh, wow.
Very different from Dr. King's own voice, So they're phenomenal transmissions. They're my favorites. And
so
many of the others are wisdom teachings.
Right.
In fact, they weren't given to the Aetherius Society. They were given through the Aetherius Society because we look after them. We're forever, as you well know, again, having to update the technology for the transmissions. Because
Right.
they were done on reel-to-reel tape initially. And, of course, all that's gone now, and so we're digitalizing them, and some of them are in printed form, book form, and they're kept in vaults in 2 countries, because we believe that we are custodians of them for the future, and that's what we're doing.
Tell me, based on the transmissions and the work that you do within the Aetherius Society, how can we turn this mess that we've created on this beautiful planet, how can we turn it around? Was Dr. King given that information?
About the Earth herself?
Yes. About the mess we've
Yeah.
made with pollution, global warming.
Yeah, it's not an easy one, but yeah, he did. And one of the, as I mentioned, he set up global healing missions. He was a radionics expert scientist, and he devised equipment. One of them was, he said that all spirituality should have as a part of its, central to its teachings, the Mother Earth, because she is a great goddess, if you like, and without her we're nothing. And so he did, in this global healing mission called Operation Sunbeam, he invented this mission so that mankind, through, it was like a karmic manipulation, if you like. So we perform the mission for the Mother Earth,
right,
as a manipulation on behalf of the whole of mankind. And we continue to do it, even though he's been passed away in 1997. It's continuing into the future. So this is one thing on the spiritual level. But, of course, there's a lot of mess to be cleared up on the physical level. We also believe, and one of probably the most important transmission that Dr. King ever received, I would say the most probably, was one given on July the 8th, 1964, which was called the Primary Initiation of Earth. And this talks about how the Earth at that time, as an entity, and I believe, and I'm an astrologer too, so I believe it from another angle too, that the planets are beings, just like we are beings,
right,
living, evolving beings, and the Earth herself is a great being who took upon herself the limitation of humanity, if you like, after we had, destroyed a civilization of Atlantis and Lemuria and so on, and she sort of took us on and cared for us, and we've done the opposite to her. But, in this great universe, there are other forces too, and just as we're going through our life and we reach points where we go through what we might say are initiations or changes or realizations that we have, or we might read a book or a teacher comes along, so too do these other great beings, like even planets, have their initiations. And this was her primary initiation as a planet, and she was more or less told, and I'm putting it very, very simply, that she was holding back her inner fire, if you like, her inner forces. She was also had surrounded herself by an ionosphere, the ring path knot, which was preventing her from receiving the cosmic rays from the sun and so forth, but to protect us. So she was doing a lot of things to protect us. But after this initiation, gradually we're told the ionosphere will start to come down and she will rise in her place in the heavens, and the earth will become wonderful but it doesn't mean to say it's going to be easy for the majority of people unless they're prepared to give love and service and so on. It's not necessarily going to be easy because there could be more madness and so on as people gradually are faced with these, how would I say, these very highly refined and powerful energies that are coming, which should be beneficial. So basically we have to work towards becoming more spiritual to survive, to be able to live happily on this earth. Because, I mean, if you're a person who's very materialistic and wants to go around robbing people and killing people, you're not going to be happy in a spiritual environment.
You're not going to be happy, period.
Yeah.
Chrissy,
so there is a plan. I don't know. So this is gradually, since her initiation, we are told, this is what we believe, in 1964, it's a very, very gradual process. And gradual because she cares for us still. And the great ones, the cosmic masters, we believe, care for us.
Right.
And they are, this is... And there is a change going on in the world, and more people are gravitating towards spiritual thought.
Well, let's talk about turning to spiritualism as we come back from this commercial break I have to take right now. Chrissy, please stand by. Great talking to you again, my friend.
Yes, and you, Rob. Great.
Exonation. Chrissy Blaze is my special guest this hour, a good friend of the X-Zone. We're talking about the Aetherius Society this hour here in the X-Zone. Now, for more information, you can check out www.aetherius.org, and that's AETHERIUS.org. www.chrissieblaze.com. That's CHRISSIEBLAZE.com. And Chrissy and I will be back on the other side of this short commercial break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and Starcom Radio Network. Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com. Call him Reef. Reef is your host. Reef is your guide. Are you happy? Happiness is like trying to find water in the desert. Can you find any? Sometimes, sure, but only a few drops. God is an ocean of joy, but God is not cheap. You cannot find God in a chemical. You must attract God's attention. How? Not by living to please your senses. That is false ego. The Matrix is not real. It is a computer-enhanced hallucination. You are spirit soul, not the body. We have forgotten how splendid our home really is, the spiritual sky. For more information, visit RishasSongOfBlue.com. That's www.REESHASSONGOFBLUE.com. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. One Florida drug dealer made a serious mistake when he dared peddle his poisons on the schoolyard of Robert W. Morgan's preteen daughter. Morgan, a budding film director, tracked him to his hidden Everglades lair where his meth lab mysteriously blew sky high. When Morgan's demands to police to make grammar school playgrounds safer from drugs were ignored, he sought the counsel of CIA operative Frank Sturgis. Again, he was warned to give up what was becoming an obsession. Instead, Robert used his reputation as a filmmaker to infiltrate the mafia by stroking their egos and offering to make films for them offshore so they could import them as foreign product without paying taxes. When they agreed to build him a studio in Panama, Robert called the DEA and FBI and offered to work undercover. In time, their combined efforts revealed how the mob was secretly laundering billions of dollars through the Vatican Bank in Rome before returning to the States as foreign investments. Now read Morgan's story, Citizen Spy, Vatican Cover-Up, The Mob, Money Laundering, and Murder, available at Amazon.com, BN.com, and Borders.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X-Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Cease to Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. Chrissy Blaze is my special guest this hour. www.aetherius.org or www.chrissieblaze.com. Chrissy, can you explain more about the 9 freedoms and the 12 blessings that you mentioned?
Oh, yes. My 2 series of favorite transmissions. The first was 12 Blessings. I'll mention that first because it was given first in 1958 on every Sunday between July to October 1958. This was when Dr. King was overshadowed by the great avatar of love, the Master Jesus, and he received this series, and of course he never knew at the beginning what was going to be received, of absolutely beautiful messages, which we're told was an extension to the Sermon on the Mount. And it begins with, blessed are they who work for peace, very similar. Blessed are the wise ones, blessed are they who love. These are each blessing is beautiful meditative material, and at the end of each blessing is a prayer. So we use them in our services. We use the heading, Blessed Are They Who Love, and then the prayer. And we also have a website, actually, 12blessings.org, where we have live services online that people can join in. So this is kind of a new thing, so I'm throwing that out there. People are very, very welcome to kind of join us with these beautiful blessings. And they go through the third, the fourth is Blessed are the planetary ones, Blessed are the thanksgivers, they who heal, Blessed is the Mother Earth. And then it starts to go out into further out. Blessed is the mighty sun. Again, like the Mother Earth, where would we be without the sun?
Right.
Blessed are the supreme lords of karma. Blessed is the galaxy. Blessed, which again I believe is a great being, we are told it is, in which we reside. Blessed are the supreme lords of creation. And finally, the most beautiful blessing to the Absolute, to God, Brahma. And this is a book, as I say, it's not only a profound teaching, and it's one of those teachings that you can, it's very poetic, but it's one of those teachings that you can read and read and read and get more out of, because it's really, really profound. And yet, at the same time, it was devised as a spiritual practice. And I've been performing the 12 Blessings, over 40 years, I think. And you really do feel the love kind of moving from God, through you and out in a very, very powerful way. And especially when you join together with other people. So, as I say, once again, we have this service now, 12blessings.org, that people around the world can actually join in with this. And people have the most beautiful experiences with it, and many, many wonderful stories on the website and blogs and so on. And the other series, The Nine Freedoms, is a metaphysical treatise, if you like, was given in 9 different transmissions, which is man's journey through evolution, given by a Martian master with a pseudonym of Mars Sector 6. And he talks about our journey through evolution. The first step is bravery, and I think we would all agree with that one. Before we make any step along the path, it takes a lot of courage, to pick yourself up and keep going again. And that lesson, I think, keeps coming back to us all the time. Bravery. We think we've learned something, and then something else comes along, and we have to go to that one again. So it's extremely, very, very fascinating and very deep transmission. And the next transmission is love, of course.
Yes.
Second freedom is an all-permeating energy which is above mind, the third degree manifestation of the initial creative force. But love, as such, is the healer of disease.
Mm-hmm.
Manifestation of this second freedom, we are told, will bring to terror, and this is just what you were saying, Rob, freedom from want, freedom from war, freedom from disease, freedom from one's lower self, freedom from hate, freedom from basic emotionalism, the manifestation of this one basic freedom of love as its prize, all basic freedoms with little exception. How is this manifested? Love is more than a state of mind. It is a state of whole being. So this is kind of a small extract in this transmission.
Now, the origin of these transmissions was where?
Well, through Dr. King as the medium.
Yes, but where was he receiving the information from?
What do you mean? Where was he at the time?
No, he was the medium. But who or what was the source?
The source, the 9 freedoms were given by a cosmic, we call them cosmic master.
Okay.
You might say an avatar from another planet.
Okay.
This planet Mars, because we also believe in the Aetherius Society that all the planets in this solar system and beyond are inhabited, even though not necessarily on the physical plane.
Right.
Just as, we don't believe they are inhabited on the physical plane, but of course they can change their structure and live on a physical plane as they come to Earth and so on. But just as we have around this planet different planes of existence, when we pass on, we go to so-called heaven, if you like, or different planes of existence. But we still exist. We're still our soul continues. So there are different planes of existence around the other planets too, in which these beings be more evolved than we are, not only technologically but also and scientifically, but also spiritually. Because we tend to be the bottom of the classroom. We are the bottom of the classroom. So this was received by him, and Dr. King had to raise his consciousness before he was able to receive this transmission to a high chakra. And he was contacted, and and a beam was put on his larynx, his vocal cords, and the sound was come out through his voice. But each communicator had a completely different voice. And over the years, over 30 years, and you'll find the communicators' voices are exactly the same, and they have been tested, and but they're all completely different. And there was even one communicator was from the planet Jupiter, where breath isn't necessary, we're told. And Dr. King took the transmissions without taking a breath, because it's very, very interesting. But the voices are completely different. So yes, Mars, Venus, all the planets in the solar system, we believe, are inhabited by highly advanced intelligences, much more so than us upon this planet. They want to help us.
I remember having a discussion with Seth Shostak from SETI, and we were talking about what SETI is doing. They're listening for radio signals and this and that. So that's great if those on other planets who are transmitting are like us, Seth. But what happens if they're not? What happens instead of being a carbon-based unit, they're, let's say, a silicon-based unit?
Right.
We're not the only card in the deck, so to speak.
No, I absolutely don't think so.
Yeah.
It's a big... creation is a massive undertaking, as we've learned more and more over the years through all these wonderful photographs and
gorgeous. Chrissy, who was taking?
Did you hear?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, dear.
I'm sort of diversing a bit, but I just got an email yesterday, I think, about Edgar Mitchell. I don't know if you've seen that. He said peace-loving aliens tried to save America from nuclear war.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that, and well.
I don't know. I don't know if it's genuine or not. It's the Mirror, which isn't a great newspaper. But what do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't think so, Chrissy. To be honest with you, I have a big problem with all these different people who just keep themselves in the media by saying all these preposterous claims that they can't substantiate. It's
well. I could say that we could substantiate it because of the messages that Dr. King received. Mm-hmm. Against nuclear war at the time.
I'm not doubting you, Chrissy. I'm not doubting you or the Etheria Society.
That's not what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's not what he's saying, though, is it? But he did say, anyway, we don't really want to get to the UFO thing, but it's a fascinating subject.
It is.
I love UFOs.
It is. And, this is one of the many challenges that we're facing in these days, because you have those who truly believe and then you have those who believe because they want to be part of something, even though in their heart of hearts they don't believe. And they're so superficial. They're so easy to spot.
What do you mean they want to be a part of something?
Well, here I look at the UFO field as it's the cool thing to be part of. It's just like the old days when everybody had a CB radio in their car and they'd meet at the corner, and it was just something to do, something to be part of. And I see that many cases when it comes to those who are in the UFO field, it's just something to be part of because people want to be part of something. And in today's age and society, with the world and the mess it's in, people are sticking their heads in the sand and their butts in the air and hoping that little Greys or the Martians or whoever are going to come down and save the world, when the big secret is that is really no secret. We are the people who have to do the work.
Yeah, exactly. So I was going to say, one thing I didn't really say when you asked me that question earlier was, well, we all have to take responsibility for living on this planet. You know?
Exactly.
And this is an important part of it. And we also have to, I think, reestablish our connection to Mother Earth and nature and the nature spirits, because like they used to, I mean, it seems like a pagan thing to say, but so what? Because a lot of paganism is correct, I think, in this respect, certainly.
Sure.
And, we don't give it a thought. And yet, without it, where would we be if all the trees suddenly disappeared?
Oh, heavens.
People just take so much for granted, and it's so beautiful. And I think the more we give thanks and reestablish this connection, I think this is very, very important for humanity, too, and our future.
Chrissy, I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. And it's
actually I'm sorry.
No, go on.
And that leaves me, actually, I must just mention one thing about, you're asking about the 9 freedoms, because the third freedom is probably in some ways the most important one right now, and that is service. And you say, what can we do? Because there's so much service that can be done, and I'm not just talking about helping people, and that's service, but also working with ecology and the Mother Earth and environmental issues and all that is giving service, and that's what is really the language of direct action. That's the important thing in these days, spiritual action. And by spiritual, I mean doing something other than for yourself, that's service. And that kind of approach, love and service, is what's going to, change the world. And if we sit back and worry about it, nothing's going to happen. So we really have to do something.
We've got to get off our butts and make things happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. And it can be done in so many different ways, too.
Once again, I look at the world a little differently than most people do. Doing this show for 24 years, that has that effect on you. But we the Bible talks about the Garden of Eden. I look at Mother Earth as the entire garden. And I think that a lot of the biblical references, even though people believe that it could be a part of the Euphrates River, this, that, I think that it applies to the entire planet. It applies to all people, because if, as it says in the beginning in the book of Genesis, and God said, "Let us create man in our image and our likeness," we are then gods. We have the God within us, and each and every one of us has that. And as a group, as a society, as a human race, we are bound together, and we need to get that feeling of love and wholeness and oneness back.
Absolutely. And it takes one person, as you say, because if you think about history, it's always like one person who changes the world, isn't it? Whether it's Mahatma Gandhi or a Master Jesus, or whether it's Dr. Martin Luther King or Dr. George King. There's always one person who goes along, comes here with a mission, and creates this tremendous change of thought. And at the time, they're usually either derided or assassinated or something, or was it Nikola Tesla, or they're ignored. But later on, we realize that, wow, this one person has caused this tremendous change. And then there's a slow kind of ripple effect, and then the whole world has changed.
And instead of saying why, I say, why not?
Exactly. And we're all that. I always say we're all that one.
That's right.
As you say, we're gods in the making.
Yep.
And we can all be that one.
And
as that one, if we join together, because this is the age of coming together, as you say, the age of Aquarius, then the power is tremendous. I don't think it needs everybody to turn to, this kind of thing that we're talking about, the spiritual, the service, the caring for the Mother Earth. But if enough people, and massive people, come together with that attitude and being prepared to work, then it will change, I believe.
I believe it's going to happen, Chrissy. I truly do believe that we are going to turn things around. I don't think that we are that stupid, that naive, where we would let this Garden of Eden that we call Mother Earth be destroyed by our stupidity. Do we really want to deprive the generations that follow?
Well, yeah.
Yes,
No, we don't.
Come on. And the solution is at hand. Use your brain. Love one another. Each religious philosophy, Chrissy, has the same tenets. It's just telling you what you should do to live a good life. I'll use the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Honor thy mother and thy father. And the list goes on. Follow those simple rules, and you're going to be a good person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we as humans overcomplicate everything, because if it's not complicated, it can't be right.
Yes. Yeah. Things are very, very simple, and then we get distracted by things that are really unimportant, and then we lose sight of the really important things, which I believe are the things we're talking about now.
But you see, Chrissy, that's where you and the Aetherius Society come in, because you are grounded. You, in my opinion, are traveling in the right direction. And there are other organizations, there are other philosophies, other religions that are doing that too. And I think that what's going to happen, everybody's going to meet at the juncture of the road and say, hey, let's all do it together.
Yeah, yeah. We do have these. We have these peace pilgrimages in Mount Baldy, Los Angeles, where the headquarters is, and we have groups of people from every different religious background that you can think of coming together and praying together on this holy mountain. And this happens once a year, and it's sort of grown and grown and grown.
Wow.
It's really a wonderful thing, and
it must be something to be part of.
Yeah. Yeah, so if people are interested in listening and they're in the Los Angeles area, then have a look at the website, contact the headquarters, and I think it's coming up pretty soon, actually.
And of course, if you do go to the website and you do go there, there's a very simple word for that. It's called pilgrimage.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And there's a whole series of 9 pilgrimages in England this weekend as well, or next weekend, which are fantastic. To go on a pilgrimage to these holy places. There's lots of these holy places in England, but there's specifically 9 holy mountains which were charged by, again, as part of Dr. King's mission, by cosmic forces. Between 1958 and 1961, he had to go and climb them, and a charge was put through him into the crystalline structure of the mountain, and they were joined subterraneanly as well. The whole purpose is that anyone could go to these mountains and send out their love to the world, but it would be enhanced by this extra charge of power that had been put in the mountains. And so we go to these, and they're beautiful places. And if you're not very good at climbing, then don't worry, because the ones in England on the whole are you wouldn't even call them mountains, really, especially in the south of England. And we're going to be on all 9 of them the weekend of the 22nd and 23rd. Wish I was there, but if anyone's listening from England, then do go along to a pilgrimage.
Sounds like something wonderful.
Yeah, it really is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like-minded people.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly, because you've got all this positive energy. You're sharing on a level. If people, it's like going to a rock concert, X-Zone Nation. You know how how the 20,000 people that are individual units when they walk in. Well, during the concert, everybody melds into one, and this is what happens on these pilgrimages, on these holy quests. It's just fascinating and fantastic. Yeah. Chrissy, we're coming to the point where you and I must say so long for now, my dear friend. Chrissy, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. Let our listeners know how they can find out more about Chrissy Blaze and the Aetherius Society.
Okay, they can call 248-588-0290 if they're using a phone. And we have, can I just say one last thing? Gary and I are running a class called Prayer and New Yoga this Friday, the 15th, in Royal Oak, Michigan. And it's 7 to 9, it's $15, and we're going to teach people how to pray in a very, very powerful way and really get it to work, And So that's the number, again, 248-588-0290, or they can email info@aetherius.org.
CHRISSIE, thanks again for coming on the show. Please come back and visit us. The door's always open, and give my very best to Gary.
Oh, thank you so much, Robin. Thanks for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Take care, my dear friend.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye, CHRISSIE. Exonation, CHRISSIE Blaze has been my guest this hour. www.aetherius.org and CHRISSIEBlaze.com. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break at the top of the hour, and for those networks and stations that are carrying the news, we'll be back after the news as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Starcom Radio Network and the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go